All right, everybody, welcome to week 5. How is everybody doing? Everybody good? Yay! Everything's great. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. Hope everything's great for those watching the live session archive. I hope everything's fantastic, and it should be fantastic because we get to go over all of the great possibilities that marketing can bring to your concept, your business. And there is a slew of possibilities out there for your marketing. One of my favorite weeks. And it's funny because I know I say that every week, this is my favorite week, but this is one of my favorite weeks too. So much so that I actually had that in between. I was either going to be do my master's program in concentration in marketing, or I was going to do it in entrepreneurship. I decided to do the entrepreneurship way instead of the marketing, but that's how much I like it. But before we do that, let's check in to see how week 4 was. How was week 4 shaping up, Chef Jonathan?
I loved what I saw in a lot of people's assignments. There were some really creative solutions to these cost problems that you guys picked out of the profit and loss sheets. I loved to see some people decided to take a different approach to the labor costs on each of these different businesses. Because it's very true, a restaurant, a catering company, and a food truck are probably going to have different approaches to reducing labor costs. That's really dependent on how they approach their specific concept. And so I love to see the creativity that went into a lot of these solutions. Some of the more common stumbling blocks that I saw were using the net profit and loss line as a cost problem. Remember, that line is just a summary of everything else. Cost problems need to be from those costs that are listed out in those profit and loss sheets. Another one is only doing Janet's Grand Events Catering instead of all 3 businesses. So if you happen to not quite understand what the assignment required and you need to resubmit, remember you do still have time to. You will be able to resubmit that week 4 assignment all the way through Tuesday night at 11:59 if you've already submitted it. So make sure to get it in if you haven't already. But yeah, overall, they look good.
Oh, perfect. All right. Because you guys were able to be creative, come up with the solutions, and you're going to be creative for your marketing. You're going to try to figure out how you are going to get your name out there. Now, do you remember week 1, the week 1 assignment? What did you guys look at? What was part of that week 1 assignment that you guys had to do?
Look at our target market, wasn't it?
You're looking at your demographic, right?
That's what it was.
Yeah, all that information, but it was perfect, Mary Lou, because you find that demographic, you have that information. Now we're going to narrow it down and figure out who your target market is going to be, because you do not have enough money to market to everyone. You just don't. And I mean, McDonald's, perfect example. Do you think McDonald's markets to millionaires and billionaires? Seeing head shaking, no. No, they don't. They do not market to them. They will gladly accept their money if a millionaire wants to come in and order off their dollar menu or whatever the menu is. They will gladly take it, but they're not concentrating on marketing to them. So you're doing the same thing. You need to figure out who your target market is, and it'll create a trickle-down effect. Yes, Ashley, what is your question?
My question is this. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My question is, like, what if you wanted marketing to, like, let's example, Christians? And because you don't want to really do it by the money aspect, but you want to do it by just having a place of fellowship and also great meals.
Okay. Well, you can definitely, I'm going to give you an example. I realized this when I was pregnant, that the B&B was a perfect place for those parents who want to get away for the weekend but don't want to travel too far because it's their first night away from their kid. And so grandma, grandpa were in town. They're going to watch the kid. They get to get away for a night. They're still in town. So if something does happen, they can rush right back. But if something but they still get a good night's sleep. So I put brochures in doctor's offices. I put them in OBGYN and gynecologist offices. But have a night away from, get a good night's sleep away from your baby, come to the B&B. So you can choose how you decide to market, because if you know that's your target market, who you want to go to, then yeah, you can definitely market to that person. A person who is going to open a vegan restaurant isn't going to waste their time marketing to somebody who's, say, a hunter and is kind of like Chef Tyson, who's meat. You guys had Chef Tyson, you know how much he loves meat. I mean, he his restaurant has a meat butter, right? Are you going to market your vegan establishment to him? No, you're not. Don't waste your money. He's going to be like, that's so cute. No. Where's the pig, the cow, and the brisket and everything? He's going to want to know where all that is. So this is where you get to really figure out who you want your target market to be. And it's all about your concept. You've talked about it. Are you going to be a high-end, Michelin star rated establishment, or are you going to be a food truck that focuses on being fast but good quality food? If so, there's differences. There's differences on how you're going to market to those people, how you're going to reach your customers. And let me pull up my handy dandy assignment. Oh, before we do though, let us go over a few things that I wanted to make certain that I did not forget. All of your makeup assignments are due at the end of this week. It's due on Tuesday. Please be certain to get all of your makeup assignments in, because they are due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So your late 4 assignments, if you haven't done it, late submissions, get them in tonight by 11:59 p.m. Week 5 is going to be due on Tuesday, and your makeup assignments will be due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Am I right, Chef? Yes. And then I wanted to, before we even begin, I just got so excited. I just started. I was like, marketing, woohoo! Before we could go into all this great stuff. Remember, we have the little thing here. I got that delightful little checklist that you guys voted on. Notice it's in bold, it's in red, it's underlined. All makeup assignments must be due by Tuesday, so get them in. And then remember, your makeup assignments are right down here. You click on that. You can only make up 2 assignments. And remember to put what week it is for. So what week are you actually making up? You need to put what week this is for when you add your submission. Put your link and say week 2, week 1, week 3, whatever week it's going to be, put it in here. Does that make sense for people? And you have 2. You can only put 1 link in per makeup assignment area, makeup assignment box. Right? That make sense? Yes? So remember, get them in by Tuesday. I also wanted to make certain that you guys remember to plan ahead, because next week is a short week. Everything is due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So get your assignments in by Sunday. But that's going to be Mother's Day. So plan ahead. Get in there. Turn stuff in early. You may be working the brunch, like the line during brunch on Mother's Day. You're not going to want to come home and do your assignment. So get it done early. Am I right, Chef?
Yeah, the other reason to get your week 6 assignment in early is because there's no extra time to resubmit. So if you don't give me time to get to it in the first place, you might not have time to resubmit if there's anything that wasn't quite where it needed to be. So earlier the better on those submissions. Make sure, well, get them in early.
Exactly. Get them in early. It's going to help. And then that way, if you do have to resubmit, and I mean early, I don't mean, you know, like if you want Chef Jonathan to look at it, that means when week 6 opens, that's when you turn it in early. You turn it in after the live session, not at, 5 p.m. on Sunday, thinking that Chef Jonathan will have time to grade it and then give you that chance to resubmit. That is not enough time. So make certain you do it early. Early. Plan accordingly. Don't be like me, who went into labor and was in the middle of labor working on her paper, because I did that for my for my bachelor's. I went into labor. My son came 3 weeks early, and so I was sitting there doing my paper while I was in labor because it was due on Sunday, and I went to labor on Sunday. So don't be like me. Plan ahead. Do it early. Right? Yeah. Seeing those faces. Kids don't think that sounds like a good idea, right? Makes you want to submit early. Am I right? Yeah. So when you're looking at marketing, remember that what happens in our industry, a lot of it happens offline, because we cannot eat a cheeseburger through our computer. That technology is not here yet. We don't have the super cool, like Star Trek, like Earl Grey hot synthesizer that will make our meals for us and whatnot. We're not there yet. So majority of this, the majority of the things that happen occur offline. So you need to understand that aspect when you're looking at how to get people into your establishment. What is it about your concept that's going to make people want to walk through your doors? Remember when you guys did your menus? You had your menu by management class? Do you guys remember that awesomeness? Remember how even the importance of having a good looking menu on your website is going to be key, because that is how people are going to decide whether or not they should come into your establishment. Are you going to be worth the reviews, worth the money? How they want to make certain they're getting the experience that they expect. You want to have those expectations met for your customer. And that is where your marketing plays a role. You cannot just say, I have the world's best cheeseburger, and then you bring them this mediocre looking cheeseburger. If you're marketing it's the world's best, that better be the best cheeseburger, right? Yes. And this is where it's all about connections. You have your target market, you have your brand. Remember, we talked about that culture, creating that culture for your establishment, creating your brand, creating that image. And now you're going to reach your market. You're going to have them find out how awesome and special your place is. So what are some things you guys think you could do to reach your market? What are you going to do? I talked about putting brochures in the OBGYN and gynecology offices and in the hospitals. What are you going to do to reach your market?
Google Ads.
You can Google Ads. Yeah, what else?
Do a billboard
Um,
location of where your target audience is.
Billboard. I heard
Yeah.
billboard. Ashley, what are you gonna do?
Social media.
probably will go to different areas like churches or different areas around the walking fellowship with people, word of mouth, those type of.
Yep, word of mouth. But remember, you don't always want to rely on word of mouth as a technique because they actually just updated these numbers, are 15 times more likely to talk about a bad experience than they are a good experience. So that's where it's really important to not just say, well, I have word of mouth, people are going to love me, because you don't have control over what people are saying. So remember that, especially for your assignment. Am I right, Chef Jonathan?
Yes, please do not use word of mouth as a marketing technique, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yes, because you don't have control. We want to look at things that you have control over. It is great if you have that word of mouth and people love you. That's awesome, but you don't have control over it, so you don't want to include that as a technique right now. You need to know what you can control. So what else can you do to get your name out there? What are some other marketing tools you can do?
What about flyers on their cars?
Yep, flyers on their cars. I see
Newspaper.
Instagram, Snapchat. That's all social media, right? Newspaper, right? Newspaper.
Tags on your cars, like signs on your cars, or either on shirts, advertisements, stuff like that.
Yep, your merchandise with your logo on it. Yep. What else are you gonna do?
Cards.
What'd you say, Crystal?
Business cards.
Business cards. Yes.
Radio or TV ads?
Radio or TV ads. Yep. What else?
What about offering a coupon book for patrons to come that, like every day of the week there's some kind of special Tuesday, the second meal's half off or that kind of thing. Is that?
Yeah, you can do the coupon books. You can do those loyalty
reward
cards.
program.
Yeah. Yes, Cheryl. Like, yeah, those loyalty cards. That's all part of marketing, right?
Yeah, the budget, $1,400 isn't much. You can't. My preliminary looking is you're not going to do a TV commercial, and you're not going to have very many radio ads for that kind of money.
Yes.
Cards.
Not unless you know somebody.
Yes, and that is an important thing to bring up because you only have a certain amount for your budget, right? For marketing, that's going towards marketing. How are you going to use it accordingly? What is going to work best for you to get your target market into that door? Because a lot of times people are like, well, I'm going to do a TV ad. Well, that's great, but maybe one slot is going to cost you $250. But now are you only going to show that commercial one time, once a year, and one like at 10 p.m.? No, you want to run it a couple of times. So how much is it going to cost you for each slot throughout like the week, throughout the month? Then you also have to think about, you had to hire actors. You had to hire a video crew. You have to have somebody edit this thing for you.
You start getting cheaper, start putting your own self in there.
Yeah. You can't
Punch cards. The punch cards where you have so many visits and you get a free meal.
Yep, that's part of that loyalty cards. And there is something that Matthew brought up that I wanted to make certain that people who are watching the live archive session talk about. Chef Jonathan, did you want to take it away? Because you seem pretty excited about it.
I am a little excited about it. Thank you for bringing this up. Putting flyers on cars or in people's mailboxes, those types of things can be considered soliciting. And you really want to make sure whatever marketing you have is in line with your local laws and regulations. Going back to week 2, do your research before you do anything, because you'd be surprised what is considered soliciting. You'd be surprised what is allowed and what's not allowed when it comes to marketing. So definitely dig into it. But that's what we're chatting about in the chat.
Touching somebody else's mailbox is a felony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chef, you are muted.
Okay, I still remember way back when, this is like in the 90s when My sister was, she was a delivery driver. She would have to like, put mail, like, you know, hand out all the menus, put it like the little door handle thing on all the doors and everything. Yeah. And if you do that, you're like, okay, you paid for those menus to go out. You also paid for that person to put those on every single door. So then you have to pay for that gas for that person to go around and drop off all of those things. So remember, when you think of the pricing for marketing, it's not always going to be, oh, well, it's going to be free. It's not free because you have your time. You have to think about gas. You have to think about
housing association rules.
Yep. Yes. All that kind of stuff you have to take into consideration when you're looking at marketing. And I'm going to say this again, but it is a key emphasis that for those who are going to do social media, remember social media is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those Yelp reviews, anything like that. Those all cost money because it costs your time. Your time is valuable and you have to pay yourself accordingly. Now, for those who are like, well, I'm going to do it by myself. Well, that's great, but you had to make those photos, right? You're going to have an Instagram account. You make pretty food, but you're going to have to, somebody's going to have to make that food. So how much did it cost to make that cheeseburger? That's just going for that photography shoot. How much did it cost to take the photo, to edit that photo, to create that ad, to post it, to repost it? All of that costs money. Your time is valuable and you have to compensate yourself accordingly. Remember in week 3, when we talked about the schedule and we talked about all the stuff you're going to be doing as a business owner, this is what we're talking about. This is part of that. You have to pay yourself for doing that social media. And it's good to keep track of because now you know, say you're busy, you got it, you blew up, you know, like this is awesome. Now you have to pay somebody to do your social media work. If you haven't kept track of your hours, how do you know how much to pay them? How do you know how long it took you to actually do all the social media? They could say like, oh yeah, well, it took me 10 hours to do it. When in fact, when you did it, but you didn't keep track, it only took you 2 hours. So you're going to pay somebody 8 extra hours to do work that you did in 2 hours. And since you didn't keep track, you don't know. So that's where it's important to always keep track and pay yourself accordingly for social media. I cannot stress this more than enough. Am I right, Chef?
You are. And I'm just going to share my screen for a second here. Back in week 3, you have yourself up on that top line. You actually you can figure out how much it's costing you in labor for your social media advertising. If you figure you're doing 1 hour a day and you're doing that 5 days a week, then you can divide this number here, 1154, whatever you're paying yourself, by the number of hours you have scheduled, 57.5. You're paying yourself about 20 bucks an hour. Multiply that by 5, which would be only 1 hour a day. That's taking pictures, responding to posts, that's doing everything. You're talking about 100 bucks a week in social media just for your own labor. You can figure out a cost for that. And that does cost you money as a salaried manager because it's time that you're not spending doing anything else in your business. You're not producing food, hiring people, training people, looking into new products, creating a new menu. Any of the 1,000,001 things an owner does in a business, you're not doing those things when you're on social media. So it is valuable time and costs money. It's a big thing.
Yes, it is. And that's where it's important to realize that now and come up with your plan. How are you going to approach your your social media, like your marketing. What are you going to do? So you want to figure out what you want to do. You're a organic vegan establishment, then you know that you are not going to market to Chef Tyson or any hunters, right? You're going to create that marketing plan, create that budget. Many times people create that business plan, but very few people actually think about that marketing plan. And that marketing plan is just as important because this is how you're going to figure out how to get people into your doors. This is also where you can use those scenarios, such as, I believe Paul said it, like, we're going to have, Tuesday nights are going to be buy one, like, kid meals are free on Tuesdays, or whatever you're going to do. That's a form of marketing that's going to be coming out of your marketing budget. So you need to create a plan for that. You need to know how much of your food, how much of that cost is going towards marketing. Then you're going to create those controls that we're going to talk about, and you're going to follow up. See if it's working. Is it working? Is it not? Do you guys remember that delightful plan, do, check, act? That nice little rotating circle that we talked about in week 1 that keeps on going around and around and around. That is the same thing you are going to do here for your marketing. And when you're looking at creating your plan, remember, there is a slew of possibilities. So you just need to brainstorm and open your mind to the possibilities. What can you do to get your brand out there? And figure out what you want your goal to be. What business are you in? Are you a food truck? Are you a caterer? Are you going to be a recreational cooking school? What are you actually trying to sell? And then think about your culture. Remember those core values, the ethics that we talked about, what your brand is going to be all about. You want to do the same thing here. Remember how we talked about New Belgium Brewery way back then, a couple of weeks ago? They have a specific and eco-friendly culture where they're about sustainability and the environment. That is how they market their brand. Versus McDonald's, what does McDonald's do? They're fast, cheap food, right? They know they're fast, they know they're cheap. That is how they're marketing. So they understand their concept, they understand the culture, and they are creating that brand with it. So, Carrie, that is an excellent question. I saw, does a website fall under social media? It does not, because there's more to that beast when it comes to creating your website. I have created a website, and God, that was like way back when you only had WordPress and like nothing else. Now it's significantly easier to create your website, but it's a lot of work to do that. It's a lot that goes into it. Am I right, Chef?
You are. Another thing you really want to think about as a food service business is a ton of people are looking up their next meal on their phone. And do you know how to make your website mobile friendly? Because if you don't, you probably want to hire somebody who does. It's a really good idea to invest in this up front and get your money's worth out of that initial website design, so that it is mobile friendly, so that people can look you up on the phone, and have your menu come up on a phone in a way that it can be read. You ever click into a place's menu and the words are like your entire screen because it thinks you're on a whole big computer screen? Mobile friendly is a really big issue for a website. So you want to really think about how you approach that. And there's a lot of different aspects to it than there are with social media.
Yeah, and my favorite is some of my friends who said, "Let me look at my website," and I pull it up, and it's the picture and the words all crushed together, and it was like, I was like, I can't read your website at all. It is not mobile friendly. How am I supposed to look at this? And that is one thing. But when you think of social media, also think of responding to those reviews, right? You guys have to respond to reviews. So TripAdvisor, Yelp, those ones, Urban, I don't even know if Urban Spoon's still around. Those ones, are they around still, Chef Jonathan? You look like you're about to say. Yeah.
No, I just saw a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Those are those take time, and you want to respond to those. So remember, your concept includes, your environment, the food that you're selling, the customer service that you are providing, because especially for today's day and age where everybody has a mini computer in the palm of their hand and everybody can take a photo or a video and post it in 2 seconds. Like, you really have to be careful. So that's where it's important to be on top of those things, be on top of your social media. But that's not the only way that you have to market. And it's best to know your target market. And did somebody ask about the Google Analytics? Was that what the question was? Hold on.
Search engine optimization would typically be under your website. Making sure your website pops up when people are looking for it, making sure you have the right keywords in there. If you want to have a sponsored listing, that's a whole nother thing, but all of those would go with your website, not with social media.
And some of that Google, like the analytics, are crazy now. I mean, you can track where people have been before they go to your website, once they're on your website, how long, how many seconds they were on each part of your page, and then where they go afterwards. And that can help. But so, for example, for the B&B, I noticed, I was like, oh, look, these people are in Texas and in Wyoming and in California, and they keep on popping up. And so some of them stayed, and I was able to figure out that this was people who are looking to move out here to retire. So for me, being able to look at those Google Analytics, I was able to figure out that, okay, I'm having a bunch of people who are staying at the B&B because they're looking to retire. So now I am going to market in the AARP magazine in Texas, Wyoming, and then California, because that's where those people were coming from. So it helps you, gives you a guide to go off of to help understand who is going to, where to market to your target. And understanding your target market is all about looking at your 4 Ps: your product, your price, your promotion, and your place. So when you're looking at your product, and don't worry, as always, these slides will be available for you. You are looking at both the tangibles and the intangibles. So guys, remember, what were the tangibles and what are the intangibles? Guys, remember?
The tangibles is the food itself.
Yep.
And the intangibles are the atmosphere of the establishment.
Exactly. The tangibles are the things that you can touch. I can touch this water glass. I can eat your food. And then the intangibles are those experiences, those memories, that customer service. Those are the intangibles. So understanding that level is important. Like, is your place going to be a food truck, or are you going to go for Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman, in the super fancy restaurant with every single type of utensil known to man out there for every single little thing, where people are going to be making the Caesar salad tableside and doing the creme brulee, and banana Fosters and all that stuff. That is going to help you understand your product, what you are putting out there, and then your price. So how much are you actually going to be charging for your menus, or for your actual, on your menu for your food? That's also going to, like, your style of concept will also determine that, right? Because if you're going to do that tableside service, you better have more wait staff. Versus the food truck, you only need your cashier, right? There's a difference there. And then your promotion, which is how you're actually going to market. Are you going to do newspaper, like you guys talked about, like your TV, if you can do TV, radio, I heard billboard, all of those ones. And then your place, because your place isn't just your location, it's about the intangibles, it's about the atmosphere. It's about the decor, the appearance. All of that is included for your marketing. So you want this stuff in that plan. Now, I have a couple of different websites that I wanted to show to you guys. This one in particular, I think is going to be extremely beneficial, and I wanted to go over it with you guys for your assignment, because it's called Vistaprint. Now, you don't have to use this at all, but I wanted to show you the different options. It's not always all about social media. You may have a target market that may not want to be on social media. I don't do Facebook. I stopped doing Facebook as soon as I was done with the B&B. I was like, I am done. Like, I am not doing Twitter. I am not doing Instagram. I'm not doing Facebook. I do nothing whatsoever with that. I was done with it. So how are you going to reach me now, right? Now, because I am the anti-social media person. So how are you going to reach me? And there are different ways that you can do that. So if we go back, Vistaprint is great because they show you all of the different possibilities. You have postcards, you have flyers, you got those door hangers, you have bookmarks, the labels and stickers, and they actually give you the price. Maybe you want to do a sign. Remember, a sign is part of marketing. Also remember, for those who do not know, if you want your label, your logo, your brand to be black, black is one of the most expensive colors to do for a sign. And it's one of the trickiest because it fades so quickly. So something to consider when you're looking at doing your signage. And I love this one because you have different options. You can look if you want to do a mesh banner. Let's see, I'm going to do a mesh one. I can say I'm going to do a vertical one. Going to make it big. And sure, I want nylon rope. Why not? And I want a pack of zip ties. It's going to cost me $388.99 for that. My favorite that's on here, which is another reason why it's so important to really figure out what's going to work best for you and your concepts and your personality, I'm going to say, for this one, because you have these cool, fun, like car magnets and decals and stuff. And you can order a car magnet, which I think is cool because you can take it on and off. I'm going to get like the biggest one they have. I'm going to order 2, 1 for each side, and it's going to cost me $43. But I often go back and forth with this with my husband because he's in real estate, but he is also a terrible driver. He is. I am from Massachusetts and we're known for being aggressive, but he grew up in like San Diego area where, you know, there's the 5 lanes of highway and you go from like one side to the other, as Chef Jonathan said, in 10 seconds. Like, he grew up with that. So do you really want to have your name on there if you're consistently cutting people off? Do you want them to know that it was your business doing that? That's something to consider when you are looking at these type of marketing. I like how people are laughing, but it is true. Everyone, honestly, I'm like, hey, hon, maybe we should. And I'm like, you know, then he's very like passionate, I would say, when he's driving. If somebody doesn't have their directional on, he's like, directional, turn signal. And then they finally do it. And he's like, I'm just like, oh, dear Lord, we're going to get like, what are you doing? Like, so, understanding if you're a good driver, that's awesome. You could totally do that car magnet. But if you're not, reconsider, use a different approach for your marketing. Am I right, Chef? See you laughing at me now. He even drive, like he works with one person who actually has the decal on the window, and if he's a bad driver, so if he's being a bad driver, he rolls the window down so that people don't see the number. But I'm like, honey, we'll be so cold all the time. Like, we're gonna have to like wrap our child in like blankets nonstop because you're gonna need the window down like all of the time. So something to consider when you are in fact looking at, what type of technique is going to be good. And these are things you want to think about because it's your brand, it's your name. You don't want to have a bad image associated with your brand. And having a crappy driver with your car decal on the side of it, that's going to be a bad image for your brand. That's a PR nightmare, right? But I do like this. I do like this website because it gives you a good idea of all the possibilities. So you don't just have to do social media. You have a slew of other things that you can in fact do to get your business name out here. Like I used to send out holiday season cards where it say like, "'Tis the season, thank you so much for coming. Here's $20 off your next stay," that kind of thing. Or give them a free little trinket. But you better believe that in my marketing budget, I counted that $20. I counted how many postcards went out. So if I sent out 10 postcards and I was giving out $20 each, that's $200 that was going towards my marketing, plus the stamp to send it out, plus my time to make those labels, plus the label maker itself to like actually, you got to buy that stuff, and to actually buy the cards. So it's important to count everything because it is your money. This is all your money. We want to make certain that you account for it and that you use it the way that you wanted to use it. Not for little last minute things that you didn't think of, like stamps. Stamps cost money. Nobody thinks about stamps when they're sending out little postcards, right? And then these are some different websites that I liked just because of the style of the website that they had. They had great Instagram accounts. They have reservation. You see how no matter where I go up and down, the logo's right there, the reservation button's right there. That's really important. You have the meet the team. You're understanding who is there. World's best female chef. They have pretty stuff to look at, hours and locations. You can click here. It gives you their menu. It gives you their email sign up if you want to sign up. All of this fun stuff. Now let me go to, let's see. This one right here. Look at that. See, they're already promoting for Mother's Day. This is why this doesn't count as social media, because you have to come up with this stuff for your website, right? See how it just pops up? It looks pretty. It's like, oh yeah, Mother's Day. Look, flowers. Look at how pretty that food is. That food takes time to take photos of. All of this takes time. This is another great opportunity for those who maybe you don't want to be in a restaurant. Maybe you don't want to actually, do the food truck. This is another great avenue that you could do, being a food stylist, because you better believe a food stylist was behind putting all of these on here. I have a friend who is a food stylist, and she's great. She makes quite a bit of money doing it. She does it for places like Outback Steakhouse. She does it for Kraft Foods. And they will pay somebody, and she will be there with tweezers. If there's supposed to be sesames on a sesame seed bun, she will be there with tweezers picking out every single sesame to make it the perfect look for that. And those are things you need to consider when you're doing your own photos for your social media. Are you going to hire somebody to do that for you, or are you going to do it yourself? Which is another reason why it's really good to look at the assignments, because we are talking about the techniques that you're going to use for social media. Am I right, Chef?
You are. Is that my cue?
Yeah, that was your cue.
So this week's assignment, make sure to read the assignment page in detail, guys. You really have a lot of great detail here. First thing, there's a link to a template right here. Make sure to click on that. Very basic template. This is a very creative assignment, and you get to kind of dream up your own marketing techniques. So your first step after that is calculating your marketing budget. This is worth 20% of your assignment. That's an enormous amount of points to miss for one number. So make sure you get that right here at the top, your annual budget.
And remember, that means for the year, not for the month. That's for the year.
Yes. So, excuse me. So you have to make that money last all year long. So if you're going to go with TV and it's going to eat up that entire budget with 4 ads on TV, how are you going to make that work for the entire year for your business and your other 2 marketing techniques? It doesn't really, right? So you need to make sure that all of your techniques are fitting within that annual budget and that you're making that budget last 12 months. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're going to have something that's a little more expensive, tell me how you're going to make that work. And, you know, maybe you're going to run a radio ad 5 times a month instead of every day until you run out of money. You're only going to do it in very strategic times throughout the year. Well, that's what you want to tell me, and tell me when those times are, and tell me how frequently. Excuse me. Concept summary. This is worth another 15% of your grade. And this is the same thing you've had on almost every single assignment in this course. You did it in week 1. So just in those 2 first pieces, that's a pass or fail grade almost, right? So really important you get those 2 pieces in there, because I really have no idea if your marketing techniques make sense if I don't have your concept summary and I don't have that budget. With these marketing techniques, again, you get to be creative, but you also need to do your homework. I don't want to know what it's going to cost to have a billboard in New York if you're in LA. And those prices are going to be different. In Omaha, pretty cheap. In LA, really not cheap. It would be way over my annual budget just to have a billboard. Radio ads, TV ads, car magnets, flyers, business cards. There's a million marketing techniques out there, and sky's kind of the limit on what you choose, but you do have to have 3. You have to say why it's the best marketing techniques for your business. So you can't just say social media. I need to know why you chose social media. I chose social media because I'm really trying to reach millennials, and I know that Instagram in particular has a better success rate with ads, so that's where I'm going to pay for advertising than, say, Facebook. Tell me why you made the decisions you did and why it helps your business more than any other marketing technique. The last piece that you're going to want to include in these marketing techniques is how much it's going to cost, why you chose it, and how you're going to implement it. Just saying Instagram, well, that doesn't really tell me a whole lot. It tells me you're going to at least look at Instagram. I mean, that's cool. But are you going to be on there every day? Are you going to spend an hour on Instagram every day? Are you going to take pictures every day? Are you going to reply to posts? Are you going to drive traffic from Instagram to your website and your website to Instagram and vice versa? How are you going to integrate these marketing techniques in your entire business and help your business make more money? A really great thing to think about as you're looking at marketing techniques is return on investment. If I send out 100 coupons and all 100 of those come back, well, that's awesome, right? I got those 100 people plus whatever people they brought with them to come into my business. But if I spend a whole bunch of money on flyers and I only got one of them back, probably not worth my time to do it again, right? So thinking about how to track that return on investment can be a great thing to talk about here with your marketing techniques as well. It's one reason why I love coupons, because you can stick those in the register, and at the end of the day, I can count how many of my coupons came back to me. I can keep track of how well that investment worked out for me. So this assignment, I will tell you, looks deceptively simple. Oh, 3 marketing techniques, no problem. There's a lot of research involved. You might have to actually call people to get prices on a billboard or a radio ad or a newspaper ad or TV time, whatever the case may be. I do want to see that you've done your research and that it's for your area or the area you're going to have your business in anyway. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about the assignment in general? Go ahead, Mary Lou, I thought you would.
I do. On that, the whole technique, obviously for any of us that are near military communities, they have where they call kind of where it's, they're open it up to businesses and all that to come in and bring either samples or marketing. Could we use one of those as an example to where you're handing off coupons? It's honestly not costing you anything, but it's a great, like, get the word out. The only thing you would be spending money on would be the actual coupon that you're printing, per se.
And your time.
And your time.
Yeah.
And the discounted product that you're giving that person.
Mm-hmm.
You're also talking about, if you're handing out samples, I really love that you mentioned this, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I love giving people my food. It's fantastic. I go to festivals and I set up a booth and I get way huge return on investment because I'm giving out samples, because there's no substitute for people actually tasting the product you're giving them, you're trying to sell them. If people are into pulled pork and you make amazing pulled pork, you can say that all day, but until they try it, they don't really get how amazing it is, right? So anyway, a little bit off topic. Yes, you can absolutely do that. Make sure you think about every single cost involved, because there are costs involved. Your time, the coupons, the product, all of those things need to be reflected in that annual budget. Mm-hmm. And even if it's pretty cheap, if you're doing that every day, that's probably going to be problematic over the course of a year. So you want to make sure it's fitting in with your other 2 marketing techniques.
And my last question is, to figure out the budget, are we just making up a budget, or do we base it off of all the information we've provided you in the previous weeks? Like, for example, I think 1 week we did like our initial cost per dish. What would it be bringing in?
We give you numbers here.
Okay.
There is just one simple calculation. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. So you have a total annual revenue of $700,000. Calculate what 2% of your total revenue is, And it even tells you how to do that. Multiplied by 0.02. That'll be your marketing budget for the year. Your business concept, some of those are going to be above that. Some of those are going to be lower than that for annual sales. But this way we're kind of all on the same page and working with a good, some money. Another thing to really remember here when you guys calculate that marketing budget is that a lot of money for me personally is probably not a lot of money for my business. If I had this annual marketing budget in my bank account, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. But in my business's bank account, I really have to rack my brain to make it work for the entire year for 3 different marketing techniques. So keep that in mind. Oop, go ahead, Chet.
Okay. And Mary Lou, think about this, because I've done a lot of like wedding event, like expos and everything, where I had to go. They gave me a table. I had like my booth, but I needed I needed a tablecloth. I needed a sign so people knew who I was. I did a whole decor thing so people could see, you know, like had flowers and stuff. I didn't just give away, like I had my brochures, I had menus, I had my, yes, thank you, visual appeal, Matthew. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. I was trying to create the atmosphere that they would have at my establishment in that booth. And I gave away the little samples. I gave away little, like, you know, here's a little coupon for you. But then I had a slew of other things to keep people interested, to give them that visual to come to my place, like come to my booth, check out the food I have. You don't want to just go off of the food. If somebody gets a sample and they're like, oh yeah, that was really good, and you don't have a sign up, nobody knows that it came from you. So that's important it's not just that. And then it was my time. I couldn't do it by myself because there's too many people. I had to bring an employee with me. So I had to pay her for her time to do this. I had to pay for the gas. I had to, I like your jump out and grab them, Matthew. You can't quite do that. You can jump out and grab your customer and be like, try my food. You may scare more people off that way. But that was, you know, and is the military base, are they going to have like a lot of little kids around? Do the little kids run around? Are you going to give them little, like, you know, my kid's into dinosaurs. He would love a little dinosaur thing. If he saw that somebody was giving away little mini dinosaurs, he would like pull me to that direction instantaneously. So that's where knowing your market, your target, who you are is important. Am I right, Chef?
You are. Very much so. There is just one other quick thing I want to mention about this assignment. Social media is one technique. If you want to use Instagram and only Instagram, cool, great, have at it. That's social media. But if you are going to use Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, Yelp, everything that's out there, that's still only one technique for this assignment. So please, please, please make sure not to submit Facebook, Yelp, and Twitter for your 3 marketing techniques.
Yes. And also a real quick one too. Remember for when you're looking at doing those, this is why we talk about the costs and how important it is, because places like Groupon and Living Social, where you can go on there and it's great, you can reach tons and tons of people and millions of people, but those people who have gone on there, who haven't done the numbers, who haven't done the budget, they have gone out of business because they did a buy one, get one free, and they didn't think about that free. And so they lost money. So that's why it's really important to look at those numbers and to count every single little detail so that you don't end up like those people who use that Living Social and Groupon and just, you know, burned bad. So real quick also, as a reminder for this week, remember your Week 5 assignment is due on Tuesday. Your late submissions for week 4 is due tonight. And then your makeup assignments are all due on Tuesday. Get them done. And remember to plan ahead. Week 6 is a short week, and to plan ahead. And I also gave you guys this right here, which is a funny YouTube on bad Yelp reviews, which was on the Tonight Show, which is hilarious. But it's funny, but I don't want any of you actually responding to reviews the way that it was done on here. Because you remember, it's all about customer service. It's all about your image. Telling your guest who's complaining about your place that they're 100% absolutely wrong is not a good image to have. So while it is hilarious and I absolutely love it, it was an example of what not to do. Well, I hope everybody has a fabulous, fabulous week. It's going to be a great one because you get to go look at all the fun stuff for marketing. The slides will be up as usual. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know, let us know. And I hope you all have a fabulous, fabulous week looking at all the marketing. You're going to look now and be like, everything's a marketing moment. Everything. You're going to love it. So have a fabulous week, guys. Bye, everybody.
Good night, Chef.
Good night, Jeff.